Good morning. It is Wednesday. It is February the 18th. The main gym show of Tucson may leave Tucson because of lack of downtown progress. That is an absolute disaster possible for Tucson. Sewer fees a killer in the county as county rates skyrocket, and the president is in Arizona. Weather clear, warmer 70 now, then 80 by the weekend. Terry Goddard, Attorney General, will be with us, and then Bruce Ash, our National GOP committeeman, takes a look from the Republican side. Then Kirk Adams, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, joins us this morning. We welcome now to our Wednesday show the Attorney General of the state of Arizona, Terry Goddard. Mr. Goddard, good morning.
Good morning, John. How you doing?
Well, the president's in town. Let's talk about the stimulus, how it might help your office, how it might help the state, and the welcome. I noticed the Senate president says he's not going. He doesn't agree with the president. It's a little rude, but Kirk Adams, who we'll have on in a little bit here, says he's going. So it could be a mixed group here, but the significance of the Obama visit and the stimulus package for Arizona, if you will, please.
Well, I think the significance is that this president very quickly in his term is focusing on economic recovery and specifically the reason that we're in such a financial disaster both in the United States and worldwide, and that's the bad mortgages. And I hope what we're going to see at 10 o'clock today is a bold and clear plan as to how lenders and homeowners can get together and fix the underlying problem that we have right now, which is more bad mortgages that are jeopardizing our entire economy.
Senator McCain has said, well, this is generational theft, this stimulus package, although it seems to me that Arizona is in deep trouble if it does not take some of this stimulus money. In fact, the legislature, dominated by Republicans, and the Republican governor have said, well, we're going to have to take $500 million for the current budget, maybe $1 billion from the stimulus for the next budget, maybe more. So they seem to be between a rock and a hard place saying, we've got to have the stimulus. We don't like the stimulus. It may have strings, but we got to take the stimulus, and it seems odd, doesn't it?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, you'll have to talk to Speaker Adams about that, but he has put in the current budget for 2009 $500 million of stimulus money. It looks like we'll get that and maybe a little bit more, and $1.2 billion in the 2010 budget. So we've been counting on a stimulus bailout for Arizona, and that's what this legislative budget is basically premised on.
Let me take you to the RTA situation down here, that election held, I don't know, a few years ago, and the problems with the ballots. You had said, look, we can't recount these ballots, which are still, I guess, in existence here. On curiosity, you have been quoted as saying, well, our investigation is still underway. We haven't completed it yet. So what's going to happen with these ballots? What's happening? I know you don't want to get into the details, but just maybe from somewhat of another point of view here about what's going on with your office and whether these ballots should be destroyed and whether we'll ever get to the bottom as to whether the election was rigged and on and on. What's your take at the moment here?
Well, John, you're absolutely right. I can't go into detail. I think there are two things at stake here. One, allegations that there may have been a misconduct, and that's what we're investigating. And we can't jump to conclusions as to the investigation. There's also a fundamental issue, and it's sort of that is confidence in the electoral system. And some of the questions that have been raised go to the very heart of ballot counting and whether or not each of us has a vote that gets counted appropriately. And I think that's what everybody wants to get answered. But my duty is very limited. It's whether or not I can find a reason to take a look at these ballots because there might have been some kind of misconduct by election officials, and that's what we're working on.
Do you believe that these ballots ought to be held till you complete your investigation, and will they be?
I absolutely believe they should be held, and we have written the treasurer of Pima County on that point, and if necessary, we'd appear in court and urge the judge in this proceeding to say, look, let's at least finish the inquiry, which is ongoing, before we rush to destroy any evidence.
We're talking with the Attorney General of the state of Arizona, Terry Goddard. You had cut back your office too.
Rather than throwing people out of their homes, I think we can find ways to keep performing mortgages in place.
Terry Goddard, thanks so much for being with us. We truly appreciate the time this morning. I know it's a busy day with the president here.
It sure is.
Thank you so much.
And hopefully there's some hope for the Arizona economy that'll come out of today's announcement.
I hope so as well. Thank you so much for being with us.
Hey, thank you for being with us this morning, Bruce. This is Mark here in the studio. I wanted to ask you, you heard Terry Goddard earlier this morning saying, save those ballots. This investigation is going on right now. How do you feel about the Pima County Republicans Party stance on this? And they're not necessarily on board with this. They're saying, I think, in fact, they've said destroy them.
Well, it pains me to say this, but the Pima County Republican Party has not taken the right decision on this. Under the leadership of the prior chairman and now echoed by the new executive committee, they failed to act responsibly, and frankly, they didn't even stand up for their senior elected official here in the county, Ray Carroll, who has consistently said we need to keep these ballots preserved and they need to be available for an investigation. We need to see what happened, and you can't see what happened in that election if all of the records have been destroyed. And I hope that the ballots will not be destroyed. I hope that there will be an investigation that reveals if there was tampering and if the voters in Pima County were defrauded in this election.
Hey, speaking of Ray Carroll, he was part of that 3-2 vote on the sewer.
Well, you can depend upon Ray Carroll to stand up for the taxpayers, and he did it again yesterday. He was the 3 Democrats who voted for the sewer increase. This is just the worst possible time to pass on this kind of a cost to taxpayers here in Pima County and to businesses, and this is a disaster. These people ought to be ashamed of themselves. And Chuck Huckleberry has taken a $25 million surplus in this sewer account over the past 6-8 years or so, and now we have nothing.
It's so important that we continue to talk about this, and not only the expenditures by the county that are really going to be felt in everybody's pocketbook, but what has happened to this city, losing Major League Baseball spring training, losing the gym show, the possibility of losing horse racing. I mean, this just goes on and on and on. AAA baseball is gone. Major League Baseball spring training is going. The gym show may be gone. Who do we hold accountable for these losses? Who fought to keep these things here? Who came up with the imaginative ideas and put the business community together to save what we've had? It was not this city council. It was not this mayor. It was not Nina Trasoff. And we have to hold them accountable for what we have lost, that we will never, ever get back. I mean, it has been a disaster, an absolute unmitigated disaster. And it has to change, or we're never going to recognize this town. Bruce, thanks for being with us.
My pleasure, and I look forward to being with you again soon.
Kirk Adams.